Picture this. Your wife is screaming in the passenger seat, blood soaking through the towel you're pressing to her stomach, the hospital glowing like a beacon just 500 feet away, and some HOA queen in yoga pants is parked sideways across the emergency gate like she's guarding the pearly gates themselves. Rules are rules, Mr. Caldwell, she says with that plastic smile, one hand on her hip, the other tapping the override panel she just locked. Everyone uses the main entrance. Aesthetics matter. My name is Ethan Caldwell. I used to think living in Oakwood Haven Estates meant safety. Neat lawns, friendly waves, the whole American dream postcard. Turns out it meant living under Vanessa Hargrove, self-appointed empress of clipboard fascism. She'd been president for 6 years, rewriting bylaws the way other people change diets, always for the greater good of property values. And right now, with Sophia at 38 weeks and her placenta tearing itself apart, the only thing between us and the ER was Vanessa's pink SUV and her unshakable belief that emergency access was just another suggestion. I didn't yell. I didn't beg. I just stared at her through the windshield and said flat and calm, "You just obstructed emergency medical access. That camera you disabled still pings the hospital server. I helped write the county protocol." Vanessa blinked once. Then the smile widened like she just won a neighborhood bake-off. "Oh honey, maybe if you planned better instead of speeding through our lovely streets, we wouldn't be having this conversation. Safety first, right?" She hit the button again for good measure, gate groaning shut like it agreed with her. Sophia's scream cut through the air. I punched the wheel. 11 minutes. That's how long it took before a nurse inside spotted us and triggered the hospital override. 11 minutes of my wife's blood pressure crashing, our unborn son's heart rate dipping on the monitor, and Vanessa standing there sipping her iced matcha like she was protecting the Republic from chaos. By the time we finally burst through the ER doors, Sophia was ghost white and the doctors were already prepping for emergency C-section. I stood outside the OR in blood-stained scrubs they'd handed me, staring at the wall clock, counting every second Vanessa had stolen. Our son, little Liam, came out early but alive, tiny, screaming, perfect. The NICU nurse clapped me on the shoulder and said, "You got him here just in time, Dad." I didn't feel like a hero. I felt like a man who just watched a Karen in Lululemon almost murder my family for the sake of uniformity. The violation notice arrived 3 days later, slipped through our mail slot like a party invitation from hell. Violation 14C. Unauthorized use of emergency access lane. Fine. $4,750. Mandatory hearing scheduled. Signed with Vanessa's loopy signature and a little heart dotting the I, because of course. I sat on the edge of our bed while Sophia slept off the pain meds, rereading the letter until the words blurred. The same woman who'd once praised me for installing free defibrillators at the community center was now fining me for saving my own wife. And the neighbors? They'd already started the whisper campaign. I saw it at the mailbox the next morning. Perfect lawns mowed to military precision, American flags at the exact same height, and eyes that suddenly wouldn't meet mine. "Vanessa's just protecting us all, Mrs. Langley from across the street cooed when I asked why no one had said anything. You know how emotional these situations get. Better to follow the rules than create precedents. Precedents. Like saving a life was some dangerous radical act. I didn't argue. I smiled, nodded, and walked away. Because I'd learned in the Navy where I used to run trauma teams that the loudest guys lose. The quiet ones watch. And I started watching. First I pulled every easement map the county had on file. Turns out the emergency gate sat on hospital-leased land, not HOA property at all. Vanessa knew that. She'd fought the lease renewal 2 years ago because the ugly sensor box ruined her aesthetic. I printed everything. Then I started noticing the little things. The way she'd speedwalk past my house with her little clipboard. The way the community newsletter suddenly featured articles about responsible gate usage, with my name never mentioned but the subtext screaming. The smear was subtle at first. A note about my recycling bin being visually disruptive. An anonymous complaint that my truck was parked 2 inches too far from the curb. Petty. Childish. But each one added another zero to the running total of fines they threatened if I didn't correct my attitude. Vanessa even cornered me at the community pool one Saturday, all pastel cardigan and pearls, smiling like we were old friends. Ethan, darling, we all admire your military background, but rules keep chaos at bay. Remember when the Hendersons tried to argue during their little incident? Poor things had to move. Property values dropped 3% that quarter. I just sipped my coffee and said, "Interesting. How many ambulances have you personally delayed this year, Vanessa?" Her smile never wavered. But her eyes did that little twitch, the one people get when they realize the peasant might actually fight back. That night I sat on the porch in the dark, listening to Liam's soft breathing through the baby monitor, and made a promise. I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to sue. I was going to dismantle her little kingdom brick by ridiculous brick, and I was going to enjoy every sarcastic second of it. The board meeting was closed to non-members in good standing, which apparently no longer included me. So I stood outside the French doors like a ghost, hidden by the perfectly manicured hedge Vanessa insisted on for neighborhood charm. Inside, she held court at the head of the table, silver pen twirling like a tiny scepter. "And if we allow emotional exceptions," she was saying, voice dripping honey, "we open the floodgates to every sob story. The emergency gate is for certified vehicles only. Mr. Caldwell's little stunt nearly caused an accident. We must remain firm." The other board members chuckled. One actually said, "His wife's email was so dramatic, claiming the gate almost killed her." "Please." Vanessa smirked. "Exactly. I'll be speaking with hospital security next week. Those access logs need clarifying, or we may need legal counsel." Only one man at the table didn't laugh. Philip Langford, the treasurer, kept his eyes glued to his notepad, knuckles white. Every time Vanessa spoke, his shoulders tightened like he was waiting for a punch. I'd seen that look in combat medics, the moment someone realizes they're complicit in something rotten. Later that night my phone buzzed. Unknown number. A single text. I saw the footage before she erased it. Not okay with this. No signature, but I knew it was Philip. I didn't reply right away. Instead I drove to the community dog park the next afternoon. Neutral ground. No cameras, just golden retrievers and nervous neighbors. I didn't rant. I just mentioned casually how 11 minutes outside a locked gate almost cost my son his first breath. Mrs. Eleanor Langford, Philip's mother, 83, sharp as a tack, stopped walking her ancient beagle and stared at me. She did the same thing to my neighbor 3 years ago. Diabetic coma. Husband had to drive over the flower bed. Vanessa wrote it up as vandalism. She reached into her purse and pulled out a worn leather notebook. "I keep records. Dates. Times. Names. Every time someone almost died because Madam President needed to feel important. I took photos of every page right there between the poop bags and the water fountain. Pattern. History." Vanessa wasn't a one-off villain. She was a serial gate blocker with a god complex. Philip met me at the grocery store parking lot 2 days later, looking like he hadn't slept since the Clinton administration. He handed me a USB drive like it was radioactive. Server logs. Manual override from her IP the exact minute your wife was bleeding out. And the vote to fine you? No quorum. She forged the third signature. I raised an eyebrow. Why now? Because she's already talking about restricting overrides to board members only, he whispered. Next time it won't be your wife. It'll be someone's kid. Or mine. His voice cracked. I can't sleep, Ethan. She keeps calling it protecting standards. It's not standards. It's control. I clapped him on the shoulder. Welcome to the resistance, Philip. We're going to make her famous. The escalated fine arrived the next morning. $9,200 now, plus a demand for a public apology and behavioral counseling with Vanessa herself. Sophia found it first. She read it, folded it once, and quietly started refolding every baby onesie in the nursery drawer. That was her version of screaming. I took the letter, kissed her forehead, and walked straight to the county health department. Derek Maynard, my old contact from emergency planning, listened without interrupting. When I slid the USB, the notebook photos, and the easement maps across his desk, he whistled low. This isn't just one gate, Ethan. This is a pattern of criminal negligence. I smiled for the first time in weeks. Then let's make it official. By the end of the week, the county had issued a formal emergency access review. Vanessa's response was predictable. Another citation taped to our door labeling me a disruptive influence and threatening foreclosure proceedings if I didn't cease defaming the board. But the neighbors were starting to crack. Sandra, the night shift nurse, stopped me at the mailbox. I reported 2 delayed calls last year. Nothing happened. I thought it was just me. Greg from Unit 12 admitted his wife's broken ankle took 40 minutes because the gate was mysteriously malfunctioning. One by one they stopped looking away. Vanessa must have felt the walls closing in. She called an emergency board meeting, closed doors, no residents, and pushed through a new bylaw giving herself unilateral override power on all emergency systems. Philip texted me the second it passed. She just signed her own death warrant. I replied with one word. Perfect. That night I sat at the kitchen table with Liam sleeping on my chest and compiled everything. 38 pages of cold, hard, time-stamped proof. I titled it Pattern of Dangerous Obstruction and Administrative Abuse. Oakwood Haven Estates, HOA, no emotion. Just facts. And at the very end, a single photograph. Sophia in the car, time-stamped, blood on the seat. Vanessa's SUV visible in the background like a pink middle finger to basic humanity. I sent it to Derek at 5:47 a.m. His reply came 7 minutes later. Inspectors arriving Friday. Bring popcorn. Friday morning arrived gray and pouring. Perfect weather for watching empires crumble. I stood at the kitchen window cradling Liam while county vehicles pulled up to the emergency gate like it was D-Day. Derek stepped out first, raincoat flapping, carrying a hard case that screamed official business. Behind him, 2 deputies and a health inspector who looked like he ate regulations for breakfast. Vanessa was already waiting at the gate in full HOA regalia. Clipboard, pearls, and a smile so tight it could cut glass. Gentlemen, this is highly irregular. Our community standards. Derek didn't even let her finish. Ma'am, under County Ordinance 47B, we're taking temporary control of this easement. Step aside. Philip arrived right on cue, umbrella in one hand, a sealed envelope in the other. He looked her dead in the eye and said, "The logs don't lie, Vanessa. Neither does the forged vote." Her face went the color of spoiled milk. The inspection took 43 minutes. Long enough for every neighbor on the block to find a reason to stand outside in the rain holding coffee or pretending to walk their dog. When the team emerged, Derek was holding the USB like a trophy. Manual deletion confirmed. IP trace leads straight to the president's home address. Multiple prior incidents corroborated by witness statements. We're issuing an immediate cease and desist and freezing all board powers pending a full hearing. Vanessa tried. Oh, she tried. This is a witch hunt. These people are emotionally unstable. The inspector just raised an eyebrow. Ma'am, your own server shows you disabled the camera 11 minutes before a placental abruption patient reached the hospital. That's not a witch hunt. That's attempted manslaughter with extra steps. The mandatory community review meeting was scheduled for the following Tuesday under county authority. Not a cozy HOA chat. An official public reckoning. I printed flyers. Philip leaked the agenda. By Monday, every mailbox had one. The clubhouse was standing room only. Vanessa stood at the podium like a queen on trial, clutching her clipboard like a shield. The county rep opened with a single slide, the photo of Sophia in the car. Gasps rippled through the room. Witness after witness stood up. Sandra described her patient coding outside the gate. Mrs. Langford read from her notebook like it was the Bible. Philip presented the forged vote records in a voice that didn't shake once. Then it was my turn. I didn't shout. I simply held up the same photo and said, 11 minutes. That's how long my wife and son waited because one woman decided her rules mattered more than their lives. And she's been doing it for years. Vanessa's smile finally cracked. You're all being manipulated. I was protecting property values. The county rep cut her off cold. Miss Hargrove, effective immediately, you are suspended from any decision-making authority. The board is dissolved pending new elections. Emergency systems will be managed by county oversight until further notice. The room didn't explode. It exhaled, like the whole neighborhood had been holding its breath for 6 years. Scattered applause turned into steady clapping. Someone started chanting, "New board! New board!" And suddenly half the room was on their feet. Vanessa stood there alone, pearls trembling, clipboard hanging limp. For the first time she looked small. She tried one last time. You'll all regret this when property values. Philip stepped forward and simply said, the only thing we regret is waiting this long. She left without another word. 2 weeks later her house went on the market. Someone taped the county report to the for sale sign. Poetic. They replaced the gate with a reinforced dual sensor system wired straight to the county. No HOA override. No pink SUV parking spots. Just pure, beautiful, life-saving access. I paid for a small stainless steel plaque out of my own pocket and had it mounted beside the panel. In memory of every minute that never should have been lost. Sophia and I walk past it every evening now with Liam in the stroller. The neighborhood feels different, lighter, louder, alive. People actually talk to each other instead of through HOA-approved channels. Mrs. Langford waves with her notebook like a battle flag. Philip is running for president and already promised to burn the old bylaws. One night Sophia stopped at the new gate, Liam gurgling happily in her arms. She looked at me and said softly, I used to think we were the crazy ones for fighting back. I kissed her temple. Turns out the only crazy thing was letting one woman play God with everyone else's lives. So tell me, right now in the comments, was Vanessa Hargrove just doing her job like any dedicated HOA president? Or was she the real villain who finally got exactly what she deserved? Who was truly in the wrong here? Drop your verdict below. I read every single one. And if you've got your own Hoa Karen horror story, hit subscribe and tell me in the comments, because the next one might be even worse. See you in the next takedown.